At my sister's graduation, the principal read a name that no one knew, and my mother fainted. My mother fainted before the applause started. The principal had just read a name that sounded like my sister's, but it was not really hers. The school gym went silent. I was holding my phone up, and the only thing it recorded was the third of the chair when my mother fell to one side. The ceremony was my sister's big night. She had worked all year to be on the honors list, and my mother repeated that to anyone who would listen. Our father did not go. He said the shift at the warehouse was worth more than the photos with caps and gowns. My mother got ready anyway and asked me to record every moment to send it to the family group and prove we were still a normal household. The program was simple: names, diplomas, photos. But when it was time for the best grades, the principal set the printed sheets aside and pulled out an old folder. A scanned birth certificate appeared on the big screen with a blurry stamp and a signature I did not recognize. He read my sister's full name and added a second last name no one knew. It was not my father's or my mother's. Some parents thought it was a system error. The principal said the school worked with an adoption foundation and that they wanted to honor the story of a student whose life had started in those files. While he spoke, I read a note in the margin of the screen. It said the baby girl had been given up for adoption with the consent of the biological mother and that the legal father would be informed later on. Later on was underlined. My sister stayed standing with her class. She did not cry or smile. She stared at the screen as if she were finally seeing written down something she had suspected for a long time. Then my mother folded over in her seat. A teacher ran to help her, and I followed them to the infirmary, leaving my sister surrounded by classmates who no longer knew whether to clap. In the infirmary, it was just my mother, the nurse, and me. My mother was breathing as if she had no air. She said the principal had gone too far, that the note was only a technicality, and that what mattered was that my father had raised both of us. She kept repeating that we were a family like any other, and that showing old papers in the middle of the ceremony was cruel. The nurse laid a copy of the certificate on the table. At the bottom was my mother's full signature next to a blank line where the father should have been. On a separate line, it said the father was registered without being notified. There were no system errors. There was a decision made years ago about who deserved to know the truth. I thought of my father at the warehouse, with no idea that half the gym had just heard he was never told about the adoption. I thought of my sister, holding a diploma with a last name she believed was hers, while another one floated up the screen. And I thought of my mother, who always talked about sacrifice, but never said that one of them had been the truth. I took the copy of the certificate and folded it. I went out into the hallway to look for my sister. She was by the bathrooms, cap in hand and eyes empty. I did not try to justify anything. I just showed her the paper and knew that sheet belonged to her more than to anyone else. When the ceremony ended, my mother wanted the three of us to go home together and talk there. I chose something else. I left with my sister to sleep at a friend's house, carrying the diploma and the certificate in my backpack. My mother smiled in the official photos with an empty space by her side. I knew that at that graduation, not only was my sister's school life ending, the version of our family my mother had written alone for years was breaking too.